let's philosophize for a second about this. Okay, so a lot of people feel that when people get deeply into whether it's Harry Potter or Dungeons and Dragons or gaming or fanfic or whatever, that it's a sort of ersatz existence, that they're not somehow, I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this, a tremendous pushback that people get, that, all those people who go to Star Trek conventions or whatever, they're not leading real lives. And yet you somehow have built a bridge. There's probably a bridge in the Harry Potter series somewhere, a magical bridge, but you guys have built a magical bridge from that world into ours and channeled it into a lot of great activism. And I think that's the way to go. But do people sometimes get lost and go the wrong way on the bridge?
Oh, that's a great question. Can you clarify that a little bit? What would getting lost look like?
Well, I'm getting deep here, but I mean, do people, and I don't really know, but I mean, do people, for example, in your experience, get so absorbed in the world of Harry Potter that they become disengaged from reality instead of what you're trying to do, which is to allow them to do both in parallel? Do people get, do a lot of people get, I'm not saying necessarily through the Harry Potter lines, but do people you find just get lost in that other world? Because that's the popular conception of people who don't participate, is that they just go off in a dream world somewhere.
Of course, there's that component to the nature of reading in general. So, like, even for me as a reader, I read as an escape. I watch movies and TV shows for an escape. So even for me, who's all about connecting these things, find joy in the escape, there is definitely portions of the fandom that are more geared towards going deeper into the fantasy. I don't discount that stuff at all. I think it's all great, honestly, but I can see where people would think it's weird. I mean, it's not. It is unusual for people who are not engaged in fan communities to see that kind of activity, although it's not as unusual to see people get lost in the giant industry of talking about sports and it's a much bigger industry to talk about sports, but isn't that just as nonsensical as people coming together to celebrate fantasy? Like this notion that they're not even playing the sports most of the time. They're just sitting and watching and eating and drinking beer, and there's whole radio stations that are devoted to talking about this, and television channels, and that's all fanaticism. That's all going deeper into it. And so my question...
Yes. My answer to you is yes. Yes, of course, and it's a great point.